back, me old chums. Does anyone still remember when we did that contest for hitting 10,000 subscribers? Yeah, that was a while ago, wasn't it? Thankfully, I've not done a runner and made off with the Robux, but I have got to start off with an apology for taking quite so long to announce the winners. I've been blown away with both the quantity and quality of all the amazing submissions you guys have made, and you've really kept me busy sorting through around 500 links we had. Unfortunately, we did have a few disqualifications from people who didn't quite get the memo about submitting a 16-cubed model. I think the record size submitted was a few thousand studs, so let's just say it was slightly off. If you're watching this, you know who you are. I'm not impressed. Still, a massive well done to everyone who took part, and it's been terrific seeing all your entries. Some of you, be aware I did initially try to live stream this on the 14th with mixed results. Less said about that, probably the better. Anyhow, instead of showing every single entry in a several hour long video, I've narrowed it down to a short list of around 50 or 60 of my favourite creations, and just like a real life award ceremony, these have been broken down into a few categories. So sit back and hopefully you'll enjoy these amazing creations with me, and stay tuned for the winners who will be announced at the very end. Enjoy! And so first up we have a series of miniature scenes. Okay, so first up we have this build from arijanc777, and he's built this pretty neat little city scene here. And they're being pretty mischievous, as you can see. We've got one who looks like he's burning down this building. We've got some gnome, he's holding an entire tree, look. What an absolute legend. Got this massive gnome with a sword and some rather evil looking eyes. And look who's on the end of it. We've got poor old AlvinBlox. He's just not having a good day, is he? But it's a very nice little build actually. It's very clean. There's a lot to look at, which I like. Next up we have this one from KingZours. And he's built this awesome robot destroying this poor city down below. It's quite a simple build in some ways. You could say it's quite minimalist, the style of the buildings, just simple blocks. But I really like the way this robot is posed. And he's even got these bits of, I don't know what these are, these wires or these sort of electricity pulsating through him. These little bits of neon really add to it. And it just looks very lifelike, the way these pits are moving about. Very cool build indeed. This build is from Non-Fish, and it shows a world that seems to be completely in chaos. We've got a gnome sitting on some sort of island here. What's he saying? He's saying, "How did I get here?" Who knows? And all the world just seems to be collapsing around him, doesn't it? Look at all these parts here, flinging off into the void. I think this is a really cool effect. I like the way the whole world is being destroyed, but, you know, I'm just chilling, just having a sit down, just relaxing. You know, we'll deal with the problem later. Let's just relax first. Next, from SSSSS621, we have got a pretty nifty little snow globe here. Congrats on 10k subscribers. Thank you very much. And then inside, we can see this little scene, little wooden cabin. We've got a gnome and a tree. I'm not quite sure what I'm doing to the tree. Am I trying to climb up it? Or maybe I'm putting some decorations, some Christmas decorations. It does seem a bit like a Christmassy scene. But then I suppose a snow globe has to be. Yeah, it works quite nicely to the 16 cubed limit. It's a very simple build. There's not a lot in it, but it's a really nice idea, this. Next we have Secretamon, and they have provided this city scene. We've got quite a lot to look at. But what I really like, and I didn't even notice this at first, is if you look inside this house here, through the window, who's that? Well, it's GnomeCode. It says gnome here, be quiet on the front door. And if we go in, we can see we've got a little gnome. Breaking news, Epic Duck attacks harbour. The Epic Duck is coming. So that's a really nice bit of detail there. Almost missed that. If you look down here inside the cave, we've got a little mining site. And we've got all these dudes down here. We're mining some diamonds and some gold maybe. And if you look all the way down here, we've got this evil looking eyes, pair of eyes staring down us from the depths. A little bit of C-frame fighting that you can see here. But you can easily clean that up with a union. My favourite part of this is just all the little bit of details you added. You can tell clearly a bit of time has gone into this. Over here we have the Legend Glory 6565, and they've provided me with another city scene, and you got some little vehicles racing about the place. Seems to be a bit of an accident here. Oh dear, that's not good. Maybe they were distracted by this giant gnome up at the top. But yeah, this is just a really clean build. There's not too much happening, but it just really presents itself nicely. Cool little concept. Next up is Tristan SwordsYT, and they have actually gone for a miniature recreation of the daycare map. You can see they've just got the white outlines of the map from the build episode. We've even got a little teddy over here. We've got the entrance carpet, and we've got a little bit of C-frame fighting going on for sure. You know, they could maybe be a little bit lined up better. But what I really like is I just really like the idea of this. It's really nicely done, little miniature map. And no one else thought of this. I just thought it was really cool. This one's from Zysicn, and they've created this little harbour scene here. We've even got some text. Hey GnomeCode, I love your videos. Hope you like my model for the GnomeJam. Good luck to all other contestants. Excellent words there. And we've got an excellent little scene. We've got loads going on. We've got this ship in the harbour. They've even thrown in some particle effects for the sea. Got some coal down here, look. Got some steam rising out through the chimneys. Some smoke. Again, you've got to watch out for the C-frame, the glitching. Maybe union or make sure they don't overlap, and then that will clean that up. But this is a nice little scene, this. Awesome stuff. Charman444 has gone for another city scene here. And we can see a massive football pitch, which is awesome. We've got a helicopter going through the sky. It's got a light coming down it. It kind of reminds me a bit of something you might see in Jailbreak, maybe. What I like about this is you've kept all the buildings nice and simple, so it works really well on a small scale. I've seen quite a lot of builds where people have done it in full size and they've just shrunk it down at the end to fit within the limit. Whereas this one looks like it's actually well designed to fit within the 16 cube space to begin with. Jeremy29 here has gone for quite a simple coastal build. We've got a noob, and we've got maybe just a Robloxian. Maybe I shouldn't call him a noob. Now, there's not too much to look at here. It's not some of the most complex miniatures builds we've seen, but I think this is just really nice and simple and really well executed, actually. So, good job on this one. And we've even got a little bit of text here, a little bit of credits made by Jeremy29. Well done, Jeremy. Good submission. And finally, last but not least in the miniatures, we have this one from RobloxBoy9658. And I think this is called, yeah, The Tale of a Gnome Coder and the Dragon of Malware. So it's got a pretty cool name. And it seems like I'm on some kind of quest here over to defeat the dragon, presumably. I'm equipped with a sword and some little gnome assistants. Although I'm not sure how much use these little guys are going to be, but they've come along, so that's what matters. This awesome dragon, look at those teeth. Look at those eyes. Very scary stuff. And up here in the tower, we've got a purple gnome. Is this a female gnome, maybe? I mean, they have got a beard, but maybe, I don't know. I've come to rescue this gnome from the tower anyway. And this just makes for a really good scene, because it's telling a story, which I really like. So first up in this new category of mini maps, we have this build from Amendra13. So we can have a look. It's just a black box from the outside, but then inside it's a fully furnished room, very impressive. And you can even click and spawn in, so I can join it with my character. And you can see it's all perfectly to scale. I can even sit in this chair here, and maybe I can do some writing on my desk. We've got a little miniature gnome, and I'm guessing this is the character of Almendra, the creator. We've got some little decorations on the desk, plenty of books, all nice and different colours, some groovy wallpaper, a tribute to Egg, I'm assuming, and I have no idea what this is. Is it IKEA? It looks like it, doesn't it? But this is a really, really nice build. Lots of little bits of detail. The chair is fully functioning, which is always good. No problems there, and it's all looks to the right size. Yeah, this gives really good first impressions when you first spawn in. I like this one. Next up, we have this build from Chloe Liao. Am I saying that right? And This is a little scene here. I recognize this from, I've seen pictures of this before. Is it Gravity Falls, I want to say? It's from one of those animations, isn't it? A gnome puking up rainbows, very much on theme. These trees are really detailed, I've got to say. Look at all these roots here. The only thing that slightly lets them down is they're not quite on the map. You can see they're raised a bit up slightly. But the facial expression on the gnome is fantastic. And he's got a good little pose there as well. So, fantastic little scene, this one. Next up is a build from fakegoldnoob_YT. And he's made a little office scene. We can move in here through the door. And the level of detail in this office is pretty impressive, I've got to say. And he's even thrown in lots of gnome Easter eggs. He's got the 14th of June, which was the deadline for our competition. He's got a gnome on the bookcase. He's got a Van Gogh and even a Crossroads picture on the wall. Lots of nice little details in here. And it really makes a good complete build. Next we have a build from Infinite Harris. And they've gone for this sort of medieval scene here with a gnome, or two gnomes actually, and one's falling through the ceiling. Lots of nice bits of detail with the stone and moss all everywhere. And the lighting is a really nice touch with the bits of particles as well. It's a bit of a shame they did it as an animation rather than just posing the model itself, which I think will look better. But if I just go into the animation editor here, you can see that is the pose he's supposed to be in, because he's fallen through the ceiling here. So if we do it on that pose, you can see it looks much nicer, doesn't it? Excellent work, Infinite Harris. Next up is this build from Inteerz, and this is a really impressive one. Check this out. We've got a library scene by the looks of it. We've got some chairs and some books, but I think what's most impressive is all the tiny little bits of detail. You don't notice it at first. There's nothing that maybe grabs your eye necessarily, but look at all these little pieces down here. This must have taken a lot of time to get all these little tiny bits of detail, and it really adds to a really complete image. One of the things I like about this one is that, sure, although they're fitting within the 16 cube, you could actually imagine this as just being a offcut, like a cutout of a much larger map. So it just feels like it's part of a much larger world. And yeah, you can't really beat the detail here. It's really good. Here we have one from Min Kayal Sin. And this is really nice little vibes here. I like the vibes on this one. We've got a light, we've got some particles with the rain, and just a nice little pose with the cat and the umbrella. Now, a lot of the individual builds in here aren't actually that detailed, but when you bring everything together, it just makes for a really atmospheric scene. And a lot of the time, that's what building's all about. It's not making something super detailed with really parts. It's just creating an atmospheric setting that feels alive, and they've definitely done that here. Superb. Next up, we have this build from Paycat Gaming. And this, we've got a little gnome scene here. You've got me watching the TV by the looks of it, with well, there's some levitation here going on with remote control. Very impressive. We've got a teddy on one side and a gnome, and there's all kinds of little details they've thrown in here on this bookcase. All sorts of little bits and bobs. Even got Teddy, and I'm assuming this is the creator themselves, looking pretty jazzy on that floating platform. And of course we've got the piggy head on the wall. And this is just a really good room, I think. Another name over here even. Just lots of little bits to look at. Very entertaining, and I like all the references. Nice one. Over here we have one from Smizerk, and this is obviously the Hogwarts platform, 9 3/4 I assume. And we've got the luggage going into the wall, halfway in. You can see it coming out the other side here actually. Again, it might not be the most detailed of builds, but what they've done, they've used well. You know, we've got the little decals on the wall with all the posters, which are from Harry Potter. And if you look carefully, you'll even see that we've got a Robloxian themed Prisoner of Azkaban over there. We've got the lighting again, and we've even got the Hogwarts logo, and everything just comes together really well, I think. Here we have a build from Alex29lol, and I really like the concept for this one. We've got a GnomeCode production line, and it kind of reminds me from that scene from the Star Wars, I think it is, where you've got your battle droids being built. And so we've got these, you see these little wires, and then these awesome looking mechanical arms are lifting the heads onto the bodies and they're going along the conveyor belt. And everything in here just looks really clean. And it's just a fun idea, this. Top marks from me. Next up, we have a build from Hypixel26. And they've gone for a super detailed room interior. So there's nothing really on the outside of the cube, but the interior is quite stunning, really. They've used a lot of decals and a lot of little pieces really well, and they've just brought it all together into this really detailed map. I think the chair especially obviously took a lot of time, and there's lots of little pieces we can go around the room and look at, which I really like. We've even got this groovy little cactus thing hanging from the wall, and this nice neon lighting around the edge. It's a really detailed room, this, and it looks really nice. And finally in the mini-maps, we've got this entry from Michael 33997788_2, and he made a few of these sort of mesh post-apocalyptic builds which look really cool, I think. If I'm not mistaken, this is the car from the My Summer Car video game, the Satsuma. I don't know how this crazy gnome has managed to get into the air like that. Has he driven up here? Maybe. Who knows? But it's a fun action scene. I like this. Okay, so kicking off with the miscellaneous builds, we've got this one from AngellsBui. Now these are just a collection of things that they might be simple builds, but they've got excellent concepts behind them. So this is maybe just seemed like a lemonade stand, but if we come around the side here and have a look, we see he's got an axe. And not only that, but there seems to be someone under the table bleeding out who looks like they had a very unfortunate accident. So, you know, it's just a fairly straightforward build, but it's funny, I think, and it's just a nice concept. So, nice one there. Good job, Angelus. Next up from ProfessorXaxa. Now, I said simple builds, but this one is certainly not a simple or quick build. This is really impressive, this one, actually. It looks like they put a lot of work into it. It's even got a little cockpit here, look, with seats and control panels. And it's even got a little airlock at the back here. Yeah, this must have taken a lot of time, but it is really impressive. So I think it was worth it. Well done, ProfessorXaxa. Excellent build. And then we have this one from Saltyspringyboi. This is from, what does it say? Saltyspringman's Animation Studios, where the art comes to life. And they've made this pretty groovy character model. And now we could do with a game, I think, with a character like this in. That would be awesome. Now you could argue that maybe the rest of the cube is a little bit empty, but the actual character model himself is amazing, and I love those groovy eyes and his facial expression. It really brings him to life, as is their motto. Awesome job there. Next we have this one from arijanc. Now this one is pretty straightforward. It's a gnome inside a hamster ball. This just made me laugh, to be honest. It seems a very random concept, but can't argue with it. It's you pulled it off well. It's the thing that I didn't know I needed in my life. It's awesome. Nicely done. Then we have bugbotboi with this incredibly buff teddy model. Check out those abs on this guy. Absolutely massive teddy. And he seems to be choking out piggy hair. And this poor noob has met a rather unfortunate end. Yeah, this one just made me laugh, to be honest. What an amazing teddy model. Maybe I should replace the teddy from our game with this one. What do you think? Should this be the new teddy? It's quite something, isn't it? Nice one. Next we've got Chicken9299 with this pretty cute little build. It's nice and colourful, and it's got loads of little Easter eggs in here, which I love. A basic miniature map of my 2D game series that I made. Below it we've got some literal Easter eggs from when I made the egg hunt video. And then he's put them all as PlayStation 4 game covers, which is really cool. Apparently there's a Gnome party game. I don't remember making that game. Maybe it's a future video. Gnome Ball Z is coming soon, apparently. And I'm just chilling back here. And there's even down here another little Easter egg. The Tribal Warriors logo, which is an old group I used to run, an old war clan sort of group. So they've obviously been stalking my profile a little bit. Lots of little nifty details in this. Really nice. It really made me smile, actually. Nice one. Here we have Fallondo with his amazing mechanized dog. There's quite a lot of detail on this one. All the little pieces. And it really comes together really well, I think. Really perfects the idea of the robot dog. We've got this glowing eye on this side. He doesn't seem to have an eye on his other side. He's a one-eyed mechanized dog. But he's got some pretty nifty claws. And I would not want to mess with these dogs, would you? I mean, look at those teeth. This is a dangerous machine, if you ask me. Cool build. Over here, we've got Panos Pro 12345. And they've made, well, it's the Gnome ship, apparently. Some massive rocket tanks on it. And there's even some gnomes that are supposed to be boarding. I think maybe these guys were shrunk down. But maybe it's glitched and they've been made too big. I'm assuming they were smaller originally. But it's a pretty well put together rocket, this. These look pretty accurate, actually, the rocket boosters. Like something you might see in KSP, maybe. Awesome job there. And I like the little base you've added as well. That's a nice little touch. All in all, solid little build. Next, we've got rafidrafsan. And he's made this, it's called Carlson's Milk. And it's not a particularly impressive build at first sight. Got some milk cartons. And he's just kind of done it for the meme, really. And I almost skipped over this. But if you go in and play the game, there's quite a funny dialogue with the guy running the milk shop. And it keeps you frustratingly busy talking along to him. Just a funny build, and I enjoyed talking to the dude in it. Nicely done. Over here we've got one from thesectorkiller. And this is a really neat little hallway. Now, this was originally a much bigger, it's a full character size model, but they scaled it down so they could fit it within the GnomeJam limits. Now, I've got to say it looked much better on the full scale, so it's a bit of a shame they just had to size it down. But yeah, there's loads of detail here. Check out all the little panels and detailing on the walls and the little lights as well. Really nice hallway. It's just a shame it doesn't quite fit with the GnomeJam, because it is so tiny, this. It looks much better on the full scale, but yeah, awesome build. Nice one. And finally, we're left with this one from xxxzombix, and it's a kind of railgun type thing. It's some sort of giant gun with 4 legs, and it even has a little cockpit in here. So to give you an idea of its scale, some people have a nice sofa to sit on while they fire away their nukes or whatever they're firing. And it's just pretty nicely done, I think. I don't know what these are at the back, but it just looks pretty cool, I think. First up in the scripted elements category, we've got this entry from Random Vega, and it's a really neat looking build to begin with. I mean, this is could have done very nicely just in the build category as it is. And I'm not sure what's going on with this little purple guy in the air filter thing at the top. But anyhow, really clean, minimalistic style. And when you hit play, we find ourselves inside the shop. And we can even click and drag this bottle of Bloxy Cola around. And it's a little bit temperamental, but it does work. We can move it around, as you can see. We'll try and place it back on that counter if we can. Although that might be harder said than done. And there's also this little hanging rock thing from a rope. I'm not sure what that's about, but we can click and drag that about as well. And it'll bounce back and forth. It does say grab the Bloxy Cola and give it to the customer. Now, I'm not sure if something's broken and there's supposed to be a customer, or maybe this hanging rock is the customer. But either way, I think it's a really nice concept, and the shop looks really nice as well. Okay, so next up we have this one from Rhine255, and they've created this laser turret, or mobile turret as I should say, seeing as that's its name. Pretty groovy looking with these 3 legs over here. And it says do not feed at the front as well. So I have a feeling we might not want to get too close to this fella. So if we spawn in, we can see the little dude off in the distance, and if we start getting close to him, he's gonna eventually see us. He's gonna lock on, he's gonna fire these lasers, and oh dear, this is not ending well. And we get all these little flame parts on us as well, look. And then he just walks back to his location. This is really nicely done. Let's see if we can get past him. Run towards him. Oh no. Yeah, there's no getting past this guy. It's really cool. And then he just eventually he'll walk back again. There he goes. Fantastic. Next up we have this creation from TDthe TV. And it may look like a rather simplistic build, but when we hit play, what we actually get is an animation. It locks our character onto the map here, and then it plays a bit of music, which I'm not going to play back for you guys, but look, we get a little pixelated character. He jumps up, he blinks, and then he does a little dance, which is pretty cool. And we got all these animations going on the side, and all the camera animation as well, going back and forth. Pretty groovy. Over here we have a rather nondescript looking black cube. Might not look too exciting, but if we have a little peer inside, look, we've got this massive space station, and we've got this sort of space sci-fi scene going on. And if we hit run, we get a little animation along with it. We can see everything rotating around the sun. We've got the space station doing a little rotation as well. This is a really groovy animation. We've got a whole solar system going on here. It's even playing some music as well. I'm not sure what this is. Is this a distant star maybe? Yeah, really cool this one. Next up we've got one from the Real Cybop. And this again looks like a rather simple cube. But I won't show you what's inside. Instead, it is revealed when we click play. So if we make our way towards the box here, there's no obvious way in. It doesn't do anything when we touch it. But if we have our mouse over it, you notice we can click it. And if we click, we have this spinning gnome thing. And these gnomes spawn in and chase after us. And it does not end well for us if we let them grab us. Exploding gnomes. Proceed with caution. Next up we have this one from PresidentDoge, and they have a really creative idea. What they've done is they've used the 16 cube as a sort of theatre stage to create a little scene, and it loads up and there's a little script at the bottom, and it tells the story of someone buying some free Robux. They're getting scammed, they go to court, and all sorts of strange stuff happens. It's a slightly bizarre story, but it was amusing, and it's a really nice use of the space. So this next one is from drakomatic, and it might appear to be a nondescript cube again at first, but once we've set it all up and we spawn in as this little character with a crosshairs on us, and it's a sort of outer body experience. We control the main player, and this gun follows us around the map. It does glitch a little bit if we get in too close towards the camera, but other than that, it's really nicely done. And it would make for an interesting game concept, I think. You can even shoot at yourself, look, like this, which is kind of fun. Yeah, I like what they've done with this one. Okay, so this next one is from kendrili, and it's kind of a computer inside some sort of old wooden cabin. It looks pretty nice on its own. Got a groovy name too. And if we spawn in and we run up to it, we get a little dialogue asking if we want to play, and then we get up this little kind of notepad thing. Maybe we could write out a script for a game in here. It's pretty cool. We can close it, open it back up, and the changes are still there. Yeah, this is pretty groovy little interactive computer. Very cool. Next up from midusjer_9, we've got an interesting one. It's a little toilet cubicle. We can click the door, we can walk in there, sit ourselves on the toilet, and when we get up, there's a beautiful little surprise waiting for us. Though thankfully, we can click to flush it all away, and then not forgetting to wash our hands at the end. And we've got to follow instructions of this sign, of course, haven't we? Yeah, funny one, and very nicely done. Works perfectly. We don't want any blocked toilets now, do we? Next up, from Modern Adul Muhammad, we've got this very awesome looking gaming setup. We've got 2 monitors, 2 keyboards for some reason, a laptop, another big screen up above, all lit out in this groovy neon blue colours. We can even turn the lighting on and off, which is really cool. And I didn't even notice this at first, but you can press a little button down here by the side of the monitors, and then it brings up this computer interface. We can have a play about with some of the settings, we can change some of the colours, and we can even change the background. It's a bit of a shame that the GUI doesn't quite adapt to the shape of our screen, but it's still really nicely done. And we've even got a little notepad as well in here. And then when we're finally finished, we can shut the whole system down. Really cool little thing, that. Next up, we have a very tiny creation from Sammy J 9900. And what I like about this is when we spawn in and we touch the model, we're actually shrunk down into a tiny little figure to match the size of the map. We can have a little run about. There's a little light switch here, which sadly doesn't seem to work. But if we walk our way down to the end of the room, we can interact with this book, and it brings up this fantastic little GUI, which gives us a little message. Awesome little entry, this one. Following up with this, we've got an entry from theGoodpancake, who made this little platform with this awesome rocket firing underneath, and of course a very intriguing red button, which we pretty much have to press, don't we? And of course, when we press that button, it all springs into life. We get this confetti flying up into the air and a little congratulatory message. Thank you very much. Awesome little thing, that. Another entry, another cube, but actually UltraLol 444 has gone all out on this one. When you click and you click play, you're actually teleported into a little miniature cutscene. We find ourselves inside the kitchen. We've got Teddy over there, flashing back and forth between its evil, menacing state. And then suddenly, he spawns over there. We look away. And then suddenly, he stabs us. Great atmosphere to this one. Fantastic little cutscene. We could do with something like this in the Teddy game, couldn't we? And finally, to finish off the category, we've got this rather neat boat from XURE1. And of course, it's fully functioning. We can jump in the boat and have a little drive, I would say, but it's not drive, is it? But we can maneuver the boat around. It's got some little particle trails at the back, which is pretty groovy. We can steer it back and forth. The handling is a little bit funny, but then maybe that's a good thing that it doesn't feel just like a car. It looks really cool, especially on this black background here. Inevitably, since I can't see the base plate, I did plough off into my death. Okay, so our final category, minigames. These are ones submitted from absolute mad lads who've managed to really push the limit of the 16 cube and create an entire game experience within the box. All the creations in this category are pretty impressive, so let's take a look at our first one. First up is this creation from BrenGamer_YouTuber. Now at first this may just seem like another little neat miniature city build, but if we select this button, we soon get a pop-up with some dialogue, which is actually then used to narrate a little story for the minigame, which I thought was really cool. So it starts off with just changing the appearance of the city, throwing in some lights and even a zombie invasion at one point. But soon things start getting out of hand, where we get these errors appearing on a screen and it even starts doing some master hacking. Eventually it throws us inside this maze for us to complete, which actually feels massive once you're inside. I think what they've done here is shrunk the player down to around half size, which sort of doubles the room that we have to play with. What I really like is how seamless the transitions are, so that when you complete one section, the map instantly changes to the next level without you even noticing. If I was going to be picky, the only complaint I have is it did require a little bit of setting up, moving all the models into various game folders before I could actually run the game. Ideally, it works best for a model if you can write scripts to just set everything up. But regardless, this was a really neat little game and I really enjoyed playing it. It's well worth the effort they must have taken to create it. So absolutely, go check out the guy's YouTube. He's done a really good job here. Next up, from Dark Age Master, we have two entire creations. The first of these is this cube, which once we load in, soon transforms itself into this entire obby minigame, which is really cool. Some of these levels were actually a lot harder than they looked, and by the time I got to this one here, I was starting to rage slightly. Thankfully, I did find one small flaw in the design of having such a miniature game, which meant Once I'd actually had enough of dying, I could just walk around the side to the ending. Who are you calling a cheat? Maybe it was karma though, because my reward for victory was just getting locked in a box for eternity. Now the second creation here is definitely on theme. It's called the Gnome Simulator, and it does require a bit of setting up again, but once we load in, we're greeted with this beautiful generated terrain that actually generates as we move, but still keeps everything inside the cube. I mean, you could complain that we're technically moving outside of it, but I think this is actually a kind of genius solution to the problem, by being able to move freely, but all the action always being constrained within the area. So it works like your usual simulator, cookie clicker, whatever type game, with a twist of collecting gnomes, but then you earn points and use them to unlock getting more points. Truly a timeless experience. It is a little slow at first, but it seems to become pretty satisfying as you rack up thousands of points, until I eventually ended up with whatever number this is, and can click the victory button. Hurrah! Over here we have a mysterious box from DogePlayRblox, which reveals itself when we spawn in. We find ourselves locked in the house, and the only way to escape is by finding the right key. So this is really cool. It's like a Teddy Piggy style game using the key system, which sends us on a little treasure hunt to eventually finding keys to unlock various areas around the map. They've done a terrific job of managing to pack so much into a small space, although it does make the map feel a little cramped as a result. Thankfully, once we've found the right key, we can make our bid for freedom and won't be entrapped inside a cube forever. But nobody would ever do that to me, right? Right. Next we have DrCreatives, who's another mad lad who submitted 2 whole minigames. The first of these is a really neat obby, which meant more suffering for me. I do like how they've shrunk the character down a bit to give you a bit more room, and there's some more interesting puzzle elements like moving cubes onto pads and so on. The only downside is it is missing an ending, so it's just a shame they didn't quite have time to finish it, as it has some really great potential, this one. And, oh, we're trapped inside a cube again. Their next submission shrinks us down to an extremely tiny character in a regular sized room. We're given the task of then finding chemicals in order to return us to our original size, which adds a little nice story element. This is a really fun concept and it's quite well executed. Unfortunately, the only problem is Roblox doesn't handle the tiny characters too well, and it makes it really difficult to have the precision required to navigate an obstacle course. So I really appreciate all the work they put in here, but unfortunately it was just too difficult trying to navigate all the jumps, and I did end up eventually calling it a day. Over here we have a submission from FreezyMelon, and they've decided to put us to work in the tank factory. And of course, instead of reading any instructions about what to do, I decided to start out by just pressing random buttons. Oops, apparently shouldn't just press the red one. Anyhow, it took me a little bit of time to figure out what I was actually supposed to do, but thankfully it was simple enough for even me to understand without blowing myself up. Essentially, the factory is only supposed to make red tanks, so whenever a blue tank appears in the conveyor belt, we have to press a button, enable the trapdoor mechanism, and send it down into the flames below. This is a really nice little concept. I think it lends itself well to the small space, and it works perfectly. Nice job. Next up, from the best 275, we have Project V-Z9, which is a fantastic menu screen to start us off. Sure enough, we're yet again imprisoned inside a cube. It does have some fun dialogue, and even gives us a quiz to keep us busy, which I somehow fail to get perfect marks on. Anyhow, the GUI stuff is really well done, but just a shame I got locked inside a cube again. Our next entry is from the Kraken Priest 123, and they've made this awesome working blacksmiths. It allows you to mine copper and tin ore, smelt it in the furnace, and then even use the anvil over here to make things. Unfortunately, I did have a few problems getting it to work exactly as I think it was intended. I did get a few errors. This might have been from my own fault from setting it up wrong. This is kind of a problem when you have models that are made into game kits rather than being standalone models. But that said, I don't take anything away from this creation. I think it looks great and I really dig what they're going from here. Definitely reminds me of RuneScape. If that was their inspiration, then they've definitely succeeded in pulling it off here. This is really cool. Over here we have a great setup from Abzuk, who's created a little button and display board for his game. And when we click it, we are then teleported into the miniature blocky game world. It's kind of like a miniature version of Minecraft. and it allows us to both mine and place blocks. There's a variety of different block types, and it's great fun hopping around the map, interacting with stuff, building mines, and even collecting a few important looking cubes. Great work here. Also, bonus points for making the character a little gnome. Awesome. Next up from Kugi01, we have what is arguably one of the most ambitious projects we've seen. When we load into the game, we're greeted with a whole menu, including a little how to play screen, which we can get a little bit of info from. When we click play, we find ourselves inside the map, which turns out to be our new city area. We start off with a small amount of money, and we can then use this to place objects onto our city. It's essentially like a smaller version of a game like Cities Skyline or SimCity. So I think it's really cool they managed to fit all of those complex things into such a small area for the GnomeJam. Admittedly, I'm not entirely clear on the relationship between water and citizens in the game, but the buildings all look really cool, and the more of them we place, the more money and citizens we seem to earn. And so I enjoyed slowly building up the city. Eventually, I did get to a point where I noticed my water level was going down, but I was still gaining money and citizens, so I kept playing, and it seems like they haven't actually implemented anything for running out of water yet. Either that or we've just solved the world water shortage. Who knows? Anyway, great job on this one. And finally, we reach our final entry of both the and this entire showcase with this creation from NWLEEUW8. Now, to be honest, this one is actually a pretty controversial entry, so I'll be interested to hear what you guys think. So to start off, we enter the weapon shop, which is an unusual type of shop because they have a massive stack of cash in front of the counter for you to take. It seems like a rather questionable business strategy. Anyway, once we've built up our capital, we can click the name and enter this awesome shop interface I've made to purchase our first gun. Now this is where the controversy comes in, because the main part of the gameplay here happens outside of the cube. The evil gnomes spawn on the roof and they run off into the map where we shoot them down. So essentially everything is really happening outside of that 16 cubed area. But that point aside, everything is really well done here. The guns work perfectly, and there's plenty of upgrades to keep us going back to the shop for more and more firepower. These evil gnomes don't stand a chance. Not that I'm advocating violence here, as gnomes are a very peaceful species. Obviously. So there we have it, folks. It's time for the results. And hello to everyone who skipped ahead to this part of the video. Yes, very clever, though can't say I blame you. But before we do, a massive shout out to everybody who entered this competition. While we weren't able to show every single creation in this video, I definitely want you to know I've really enjoyed viewing all of the models and reading your messages along with them, even getting gnomed like 20 times in the process. Well played, guys. It was a really hard decision to choose the winners, but without further ado, I'm excited to announce our prize winners. Starting with the runner-ups, who will each be receiving their juicy 800 Robux gift cards. And our first prize goes to Inteerz with their amazing library scene. Congratulations, excellent work on this truly top-class build. I look forward to seeing some more great builds from you in the future, I think. Now rolling on, our next prize winner and our second runner-up of the show, it is Kugi01 with their fascinating city building simulator. Great work on this game. Hopefully this will give you some motivation to make this into a full game in the future. I really think it has some good potential. And finally, our grand prize, the tournament winner, who'll be taking home our massive 2,000 Robux, goes to a very special little creation, which was very much on theme. The winner of our first ever GnomeJam is Dark Age Master with their Gnome Simulator. Fantastic work from all of you, and I hope you're proud of what you made. Everyone has done a fantastic job. Once again, thank you to everyone who's entered, and I look forward to seeing you all in the next video. Goodbye!